Hello everybody and welcome back to King Game Reviews. I am the King and here we are again. Today we are going to be taking a look at Gears of War 4 for the Xbox One. You guys ready? Let's begin. Now I gotta admit I have a pretty deep history with the Gears of War franchise. It was one of the first Xbox 360 games I ever played. Actually, it was the first. My friend brought it over on my birthday. He brought his Xbox over and brought Gears of War, and we played the multiplayer all day. And I was like, Dad, I want this. I got the game. I loved it. And ever since, I've played every single Gears game and loved each and every one of them. Some a little more than others, and I gotta say the Gears franchise, looking back on it, those games have not aged all that well. Gears of War 3 and Judgment probably were the best aged ones because they were the last ones to come out. Gears of War 4, however, aims to bring Gears into the modern generation because let's be honest, that Ultimate Edition of Gears of War, though it looked great, played great, it still had the same clunky feel of Gears 1. I am happy to say though, Gears of War 4 is not only an excellent reboot for the franchise, it's a step in the right direction for Gears in general. There is no doubt in my mind this is one of the best Gears games. It might be the best Gears game. And I'm going to tell you why right now. The story for Gears of War starts off with a prologue showing you the ending of the Pendulum War, the beginning of the Horde, and the ending of the Gears War with the Locusts. And I gotta admit, it's actually a pretty kick-ass scene because you're fighting through all of these key moments in the universe of Gears of War. You actually get a look at the Pendulum Wars and who you were fighting in the beginning. You actually get to see and fight in the beginning of E-Day for a bit, which is nice. And you get to see what happened to the commander at the end of Gears 3. For fans of the franchise, this is kind of cool. But then the game quickly shoots away to the end of the war of Gears 3, cuts 25 years later, and you are playing the son of Marcus Phoenix, and with your partner, with your two friends, the one specifically named Kate. She's actually a really important character. We'll get to her in a minute. And the story starts off with you three breaking into a facility that the COG have started building. They are rebuilding all of society. They are building new cities. And some people are considered outcasts because they don't want to cooperate with the COG. They don't want to go about the way they see life to be. And it's actually very interesting because this level, you go through the town, you actually get a good look at COG's culture. You get a good look at the Gears universe, what it tries to do later after all of this war, how they're planning to rebuild society. And kind of their answer is build everything to look the same and force women to give birth. Well, not force, but they really are pushing the idea that you need to have kids and you need to repopulate the world. And it's kind of put in a sort of bad light, but they also say, well, you need to do that because the humanity is nearly extinct. And this is only a small little thing touched on, but I thought it was really interesting to take a look at, what the COG did after the war. I was like, well, they're going to have to do this. And they did. But you are breaking into this town to steal a fabricator, which is something they need to build a new power cell because their village has run out of power and they needed to get it for the generator. And you get your first taste of combat in Gears in the new setting. And what's really cool about it is that they couldn't have you fighting civilians because, civilians in the Gears, if you killed humans, that's a no-no. So instead they actually have you fight robots. And the robots are actually kind of an interesting villain in the game. They're definitely a little bit more persistent than the Locusts, but go down just as quick. And you also get new weapons. And what I will say about Gears is the new weapons are a welcome pace, and we'll get to those in a second. Getting back on track, you steal the fabricator, you get out, and then go back to your village. That night, however, the entire village is taken down by a mysterious horde of enemies. They kill many, but capture most of them, including Kate's mom, who is the leader of the village. They capture her, take her away, and then she is on a revenge story to get her mother back and to save the rest of the village. So you have to go enlist the help of Marcus Phoenix to help you get them out, because he actually might have an idea where these new enemies came from, which is very intriguing, I gotta say. And it's just so cool that for most of the game, you have Marcus Phoenix, this veteran here, but you don't play as him as the main character. Instead, you're his son. And it's just a really nice little thing, like, hey, we're passing it to the next generation, but we're acknowledging how badass the old Gears games were. So get on it. Now, the combat for Gears of War has not changed one bit in terms of gameplay. It is still a third-person cover-based shooter, but it has a few little tweaks to it that I really appreciate. For one thing, the gameplay definitely does feel a little bit more engaging. Enemies come at you a little bit harder, so you're forcing yourself to move around more. They'll try to flank you more often. Whereas in some other Gears games, they would stay in the distance and shoot at you as such. And they would lob grenades. In this one, they still do lob grenades to keep their distance, but some of them will try to outsmart you and flank around you. And they normally throw enemies that don't have guns that run at you and explode, or run at you and hit you. So you have to stay on your toes. I really appreciate that. It keeps combat more engaging. They also added one extra thing that I was like, why wasn't that in previous Gears games? And they added in this one, the execution moves. When you're behind cover of an enemy, you can go behind them and you can press forward and X to grab them, yank them out of cover. It'll put them in a position where you can press Y and you can go into this really cool execution where you just stab them in the gut, bring them up, or stab them in the head and they drop, or just bring them around, put them a full Nelson and stab them in the back of the head. It's really cool. And there's blood that hits on the screen, of course. And what's unique about it is if you kill robots, oil shoots on the screen instead of blood, which is a nice touch. Now, what's really cool about the enemies in the game, for the gameplay of Gears 4, is that because the locusts were all dead, they had to come up with new ideas for enemies, so robots were just one thing. And there are a decent variety of robots. There's your standard robots that walk and they each have like submachine guns that come at you. You have your big tank brute robots that have shotguns. You have these little ball robots that roll around at you and then they explode into an electric field that can take you down and leave you open to be killed. And you have flying guardian drone robots that have a shield you have to break down before hurting them, or if you can flank around them, you can get them from behind and kill them. It's a really cool variety for the first part of the game before the new enemies are introduced. You fight these robot things through the entire first act, so you knew they weren't going to slouch on those enemies. And in terms of other enemies, the new Horde enemies, they're all good. Some of them are reskins of previous Gears enemies, like those little grub things that would run at you and jump and swing at you with their arms. Those were replaced by Juvies. These little skinny dudes that run at you, they can hop on walls to dodge fire. I've actually seen these things when I aim my gun at them, they jump out of the way. I've seen that happen. And they come out and smack you in the face. And I think they're a little bit more aggressive and faster than the grubs, and they're skinnier so it's harder to hit them, which is a nice touch. Their redesigns definitely look more vicious than the grubs, and what's even more unique about them is that they go into the ground and evolve. They can go into certain parts of the ground and they can evolve into the main locust enemies. Which are your standards? They look like classic locusts, only they're naked, which is weird. And they carry regular assault rifles and shotguns, because, you know, shotguns are awesome. But some of the more unique enemies, I would say, are the pouncers. These things are badass. They are so cool looking. They're like little dog things. And they can hop from cover to cover, so they're not just going to stay behind cover. No, they're standing on top of hills, hopping left and right, and they shoot at you with 3 scatter shots at a time. So it's like 3, 3, 3 coming at you. And then, if you're not careful, they will jump on top of you, forcing you to a quick time event to push them off. This is an excellent enemy variety for the Gears universe, and I love it. Because it not only forces you to keep your distance from this thing, it forces you to move quick, because this thing can actually jump right next to you at any moment. It'll prep itself to jump on top of you, so you really gotta watch your back if there's 2 or 3 of them on the same game. And this game does throw one at a time at you in the beginning, but very quickly throws 2 or 3 at a time. And sometimes they'll throw pouncers in firefights with different kind of enemies, like the Juvies and the regular grunts. And then there's the giant juggernaut enemies, these giant like gorilla type things that come at you, and if they grab you, they can kill you in one hit. And they have a core that opens up that fires like little drone things that go into the air and fire at you and explode, so you have to dodge those, but you also have to shoot the core when it opens, because that's its only weakness. That's actually a pretty tough enemy. In some cases, I think he was a little overpowered, but still, it was a nice enemy. But my favorite one, my favorite enemy in the game, is the Snatcher. Oh yeah, you've seen this thing in trailers a million times. These giant little spider enemy things that have tentacles coming out of their stomach. The one that captured Marcus in the trailer that you all saw. That enemy becomes a regular. In the beginning of the game, he's introduced in Chapter 3, and for all Chapter 3 you only fight him once in the end. But then, from then on, he starts to become more of a regular enemy. He appears in quite a few firefights. and he is so cool. Because what's cool about him is that he runs up to you, he fires a single shot to knock you down, then he comes up to you and sucks you in. And what's epic about that is if your teammates can't take him down in time, he'll run away and then it's over. So this is another enemy that forces you to stay on your toes, to watch it, stay behind cover at the time, keep your eye on him at all, because if you drop and he gets close to you, you're captured. But your teammates can shoot him to make him spit you out. And honestly, my first playthrough of the game, I found myself getting eaten by this thing a lot. A little annoying, gotta admit. But I love this enemy, it's so cool. And the gameplay itself is not just third-person cover-based shooting. They do a lot of variety to spice it up. There are certain things, one of the biggest promotions about the game is that you were facing against the weather, because there are these new wind flares that come in through the game, and they fire like lightning from the sky, and the wind currents actually are so powerful they hold you back, so you have to use the wind currents in the right way to throw grenades and actually have it hit enemies instead of it going out into the wrong direction. Or you can actually shoot pieces of cover to have them swing in and kill enemies, which is very creative. We gotta give them credit for that. And there are certain sections where you're not shooting anything and the lightning is coming down from the sky, and you have to dodge the lightning as it's shooting all over the map. And it's a pretty tense sequence, and I gotta admit I did die a few times the first time through, but after that it was no problem. You just gotta get the pattern right on the lightning. And about at the end of every single act, the game has a giant set piece, which is really badass, where just everything is blowing up around you. You have a gun, or you're on a motorcycle, you're shooting up into the sky, and you're like just firing everything out of your way, or you're riding on that motorcycle trying to shoot all the cover to make sure you have a clear path for your motorcycle. It's so cool. There is a lot of variety in this game, and of course there's the classic, hey, there's two paths we can take, which one you want to do, which gives a little bit extra replay value to the campaign. Now, I'm not going to spoil the ending to the Gears story, but what I will say is, it's interesting. Like, really, the story wraps up in kind of a satisfying way, but it's very clear they wanted to sequel bait and have more sequels along the way, but the end they chose to go with left me with quite a few questions, but I'm really eager to see where they take it. And the final boss fight in the end of the game was really cool. Not gonna lie, I was just, whoa. Question: have you ever wanted to know what would happen if the Gears people tried to make Titanfall? You might find out in this game. Play it. And one more thing I should mention about the campaign that they added are these set defense missions, which is like classic horde mode, where you set the fabricator in the background, you build up your defenses, and then you have to stay behind cover and defend this one single area from the hordes and hordes of enemies. They do this every once in a while. It's not really a very common occurrence. It's mostly classic cover to cover shooting, but just like the weather and the lightning sections and all that, it's a good mix-up to the gameplay and keeps things from being stale. On the multiplayer side, you have your classic modes, your team deathmatch, you have all that good stuff. And I will say that I've played the multiplayer for hours and really enjoyed myself. It's really intense, and I gotta say I enjoyed it a lot more than a lot of first-person campaigns I've played before. I think it's because I'm a little bit better at playing Gears than I am playing Call of Duty or Halo. I can actually get on those high leaderboards. Well, not the leaderboards, but I can get in the top 3 rankings on the multiplayer matches. So I'm really proud of that. All the maps are really cool. They're very compact, a lot of them, but it's enough to get you going in versus rounds and versus matches. But the one thing I will say about this game is its horde mode. Horde 3.0 is hell. It is hard, man. Coming from a person who played horde mode in single player by himself, horde mode is ridiculously hard. There is no way you're going to survive that playing by yourself. You have to play with friends, and they know this because horde mode has to be played online only. Unlike other Gears games with horde mode, you could play it by yourself, which it kind of sucks, but seriously, you'll want to play this with friends. It's so crazy. What happens is, if you can make it past round 10, the game adds like an extra thing like, oh, enemies deal twice the amount of damage, or enemies heal faster, or there's less ammo drops, or something like that. It just keeps adding more bull and stronger enemies every single round. It's intense, it's difficult, and you'll love it. Me and my buddies, we barely got past round 12, and I dare you to try to beat us. Go ahead. There's also a ton of great customization for the multiplayer. For your characters, you can have a good selection of loadouts. Not like a big set of loadouts. You get like a set number of weapons, but it's decent. And you can customize how your character looks. You can customize the skins of all of your guns, and you can customize how your main character looks through skins and costume designs, as well as the locust. You can actually choose what kind of locust enemy you want to look like. And you can actually customize their skin and their personal weapon colors, so you can have a variety of different people to play as. And this is kind of a cool thing I think they add, is that in the multiplayer, if you're playing on the bad side, you can not only play as Locust, but you can play as the robots too. Nice touch. And you keep hearing me say that over and again, but that's what this game is. It is a continuous set of nice touches that helps to improve the Gears franchise. Gears of War 4 is such a kick-ass game, and I highly recommend that you buy it. Its single-player campaign is epic. It has so much variety to it that I can't recommend it enough. Its multiplayer is fantastic. I've spent hours myself playing it with my friends. There is so much to this game, and if you buy it brand new, you get Gears 1 through Judgment for free. You get the entire franchise to give it a go if you've never played it before. But even if you don't, you just give it used, Gears 4 is still fun. Also, I think it's worth mentioning that Gears of War 4 has couch co-op. So if you're one of those people that like that and still want that, you're going to get it here. So, in the end, Gears of War 4 gets an 8 out of 10. Not everything about the game is perfect, but it is such a huge step in the right direction. That cliffhanger ending kind of pissed me off, but I'm interested to see where they go with it, and I cannot wait for Gears of War 5. Guys, you were awesome. Thank you so much for watching. Sorry if I rambled around a little bit. I hope I kept it focused enough that I can recommend it to you guys. You guys are awesome. Thank you again, and you have a good time. I'll see you next time.